Okay, the LA Times is reporting on the finalization of the American Airlines and US Airways merger, making them the largest American airline. American Airlines emerging from bankruptcy, closing the merger with US Airways. And they're not only the US's biggest airline now, they're the biggest airline in the world. The parent company of the parent companies of the two airlines became American Airlines Group Incorporated. The new airline will be based in Fort Worth, Texas. And there is going to be this period, as often is the case when airlines merge, where they continue to operate separately, flights are operated separately, etc. We saw this with the United and Continental merger a couple of years back. Eventually, all of the frequent flyer miles join. The fleets are repainted to match and to be consistent. The flight numbers all match and only represent one airline. There is typically the assumption from those who think critically about these issues, Lewis, that serious industry consolidation is bad for customers and that has very few exceptions. Increased prices due to less competition is kind of an obvious, logical expectation. However, interestingly enough, within the airline industry, that hasn't been the case. As of 2012, the results of a number of mergers that took place within the U.S. airline industry during the last decade, including United and Continental, Delta and Northwest, Southwest, and AirTran. Although does that actually count as a merger? I'm not sure. In any case, there have been a number of these mergers. It only led to a 1.8% increase in the average domestic ticket price per year from 2004 to 2011, which is actually slightly less than inflation. However, we have to explore those numbers a little further. Number one, yes, domestic prices may have risen only slightly, but international routes are where these mergers can have the biggest impact, Lewis, where think about a flight, for example, from the US to Argentina, a flight that I've been on just about every airline for. Very often when these mergers take place, you actually see a reduction in the number of those flights, and the prices of those routes do actually increase significantly. So we have to separate domestic flight tickets and international flight tickets. But there's actually a further issue, which is forgetting for a second about how it affects consumers. Remember the labor implications and how it affects those who work for these airlines. Most of the labor boards did not oppose the American US Airways merger. And much of that can be for political reasons and for deals that are kind of made behind the scenes. But that has to be a concern here in terms of, do you lose negotiating power as an employee when this happens? Is it better or worse for you day to day as an employee? And we know back during the United Continental merger, I would speak to employees of both airlines regularly at airports, and many of them were not pleased with how they were being treated.
Right, but there was also the potential that many people could have just lost their jobs entirely if one of these airlines failed. So in that way, I suppose a lot of jobs potentially could have been saved. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see how this all resolves before we get angry about anything.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually next week I'm flying. Oh no, actually I'm not. I thought I was flying on American next week, but I'm not. So I won't be able to do any kind of research on this or talk to anyone, but maybe some other time.
I'm sure you'll find a flight sometime, yeah.